All right, guys. Now we're jumping into section two of the show itself. Talking about Guild Wars 2, just releasing their fall and winter roadmap. Lots of content. We were joking kind of in the mid pre-show as we transition in that Chris has already covered this, but he decided that he wasn't going to post anything about it. So he's already well the expert. I haven't seen this. I just saw that Guild Wars 2 posted a new roadmap, and I thought it'd be really great to kind of get caught up to speed on everything that is going on with the latest Guild Wars expansion, and as they build 2 more changes down the road. So Chris, why don't you take us through it?
So I'm going to be talking about this from Final Fantasy terms because I've been seeing in the comments on our YouTube videos lately that there are a lot of people that just, kind of taking little breathers from Final Fantasy right now. And a lot of people are trying out Guild Wars or are interested in trying out Guild Wars. So I'm going to put this in Final Fantasy 14 terms, since I think a lot of people in this community are actually going in with more 14 vocabulary than Guild Wars vocabulary. Plus, Guild Wars has a bunch of brilliant creators, so a lot of people that really are super into Guild Wars are already getting this covered. Mm-hmm. So, the step 1, profession updates. Professions are jobs, and so these are class balance updates being announced in advance. Because it is a lateral progression system, one of the things that adds variety to it is going ahead and changing up class balance. And so this is kind of like with crystalline conflict and stuff, is going to need continued balance changes. Even if they hit a perfect moment of equal, everybody's equal, you still want to keep jacking with that formula, because that's where the spice of variety comes from. So we'll see that in here, I believe twice between now and the end of the year, but those need to continually be there, so that people that are at end game have a reason to try out other builds and try out other comps, because that's what makes the different raid content and stuff exciting. Now, October 14th, we're moving to World v World, restructuring beta number 6. Guild Wars does something unique. We talked about WoW right before this and kind of the PTR and the pre-patch and this life cycle of what content looks like as it pushes into game. Final Fantasy just gets game day and date. Guild Wars does live betas. So what that means is you log into Final Fantasy or whatever your MMO of choice is, even, Guild Wars, you log in, and whatever they're trying is just on the live servers. World v World is kind of like Frontlines at like Bozja scale. It's massive, yeah. And it's literally server against server PvP.
And isn't it like a point system over the course of a week? So you jump into it and then you jump out of it and you jump back into it.
It's like a living, breathing Age of Empires that you just hop around and run in around as one footman. And it's best experienced, in my opinion, when you're either with a set group of like strategic, like 10 or so, or like with a big mass of 100 people, and you're just running around mowing down guards and castles and stuff. Now, they've had some issues with the way it's balanced and stuff. So without getting in the weeds on that, they've been working on restructuring that. And that's been an ongoing process. And so what they do is, rather than roll out something like the Black Mage change with that like lettered patch, where then Final Fantasy had to walk that back with an apology. They haven't had to walk back everything with Crystalline Conflict. Sometimes it's been positive, but sometimes it's been negative. WoW is the same issue, but in theory, they're testing with PTR, but I don't know that they've been as responsive. I don't know that the PTR is as much of a testing ground as it used to be. It sometimes feels like they get feedback from the PTR and then it rolls live anyway.
Yeah.
So what like, Guild Wars, they're like, yeah, that's interesting. Here it is. And so what Guild Wars does is they actually push something like that Black Mage change live on the server for a set number of days. Here it's October 14th through the 21st, and then they pull it off the server and it goes back to the way it was. It reverts, and that gives them a chance for everybody to go leave all their responses on the forums, for them to pour over the data, decide what they liked, what they didn't like before they make anything permanent. And so it is this slow iterative process of, does this feel good? Does this feel good? But either way, whether it is perfect or it is a failure, it will only exist on the servers from October 14th to 21st. That encourages a lot of people to go try it, to get a lot of feedback about, man, if this went live as it is, I would never do World v World again. Or if this went live as it is, I love this. And so that'll kind of, and they encourage you into it. They're going to double rewards. They're going to double experience. They're going to just really drive people into that content.
It's really cool. Like, so, having already participated in one round of that, I was like, that's fun. That's interesting. Cool. And I was like, man, that's risky. It's like, but then it went over without a hitch. And so it was kind of fun to be able to kind of play with the new professions and experience that as well. So, all right, cool.
The way the servers are balanced right now is basically each server has like an ELO, like your server has a rating, but then it also tries to pair like servers. But what that means is, what ends up happening is, if you have like a large RP server that doesn't engage a lot in World v World, but the people on it that do win a lot, like are really organized, then like it screws with the way that's ranked against maybe a more just like generalist server that has like a generalist population that's all trying it a little. And so like that's why it doesn't work as it is, because people have learned how the system works, and all the people who are interested in manipulating the server system condensed onto this set like this primary World v World server, and it just breaks the top rating, the top ELO, and so it just splinters the system, and it frustrates people who are trying to engage in it at different levels of casual. So November 29th, another profession, another job balance. And so they'll have a preview for this update. They'll have public feedback, and they're going to continue listening to what people want to see with the ever evolving way that the classes works. Now, legendary variants. So legendaries are relics. Legendaries in World of Warcraft are legendaries, except that in World of Warcraft and Final Fantasy, the two games I'm most familiar with, those live within an expansion. So they are that nasty phrase of a borrowed power system. They are something you unlock relatively early on in an expansion, and you power up through the expansion. And if you come in late, there tends to be a catch-up mechanic. And then after that expansion, they tend to be cosmetic only. Any great perks or anything on them are either isolated to a particular type of content, or they're just removed, or their gear score is just so garbage. Like, they're just cosmetic. They really aren't that helpful after that. People still go back and do them, but just kind of completionists and things like that. In Guild Wars, it's a lateral system. So if you had the equivalent of a old school legendary weapon from maybe from Legion, or if you in WoW, or you have like a Heavensward relic completed, that would still be relevant for the raid that is set to come out. That would still be BIS for the raid that is set to come out. So what that means is, what you want from legendaries is there's some quality of life tied to the way their gearing works. Like, it can basically slot its materia or its enchants. Like, it can manipulate that freely, and then it can be used across any class that uses that weapon. And so like, once you get a sword, now all your classes with swords, and so like it's really handy. So now it's just all about skins. So they are going to have more skin variants coming in. What this does do, though, is the legendary system, because they are these unique cosmetics, and they are very hard to unlock. So they are meant to be for established players. So when new players come in, they're like, yeah, I just hit level 80. Now I'm going to get a legendary. Veteran players like, maybe start with something easier. Like, it's just a big process. And there are plenty of people who played for a very long time that have never completed a legendary, or have completed just one or two. There are also people who've completed 9 billion of them. Continuing to partner with Extra Life.
There you go.
24 hours a day. Easy. And then there's seasonal events. Shadow of the Mad King coming back for Halloween, and Winter's Day coming back for the holiday December through January. And then living seasons. So World of Warcraft gets on target 3 patches for every expansion. Those come sometimes with like additional zones and additional story, main story and side story tied to them. In Final Fantasy, we get patch content. That patch content comes with dungeons, trials, no new zones, but lots of new quests. In Guild Wars, those are done as living seasons. Once you buy an expansion, you get living seasons for free, just for being an active player. However, once those living seasons pass us by, they actually go behind a paywall, because this is not a subscription-based game. So it's how they get their money. They're not very much. I think on the high end, they're like $5 or $10 or something. I think they regularly go on sale for a couple bucks. They're not a big deal, but you get a lot of content tied to them. And then they've given them out for free. They've gone back and given out ones. But what these are, Living Season 1, is like getting the ARR patch content, which has historically it was just removed from game. Imagine if when we moved out of an expansion in WoW, all the patch content to that game just disappeared if you weren't there for it. You can't zone into it. And in Final Fantasy, imagine if a new player today played through the 2.0 storyline and then went straight into Heavensward and didn't get to do post ARR story. That was just locked away. And people are like, but some stuff's in there is important. Yeah, it's gone. And so like, it's just been removed from game. And so what they've been doing is they've been pulling that out of the archive. They've been re-enabling that content from season 1. And they are actually making that part of their free trial. So you can download the base game for Guild Wars for free right now. If you like supporting content creators and you want a content creator to help you on that journey, I encourage you to go check out Rookery and ask her any Final Fantasy questions about Guild Wars, because she actively plays both. And then all the ArenaNet partners have links, and even clicking their free trial link does support them. So if you take interest and you want to support them, go do that. And if you get that free trial, that base game, what that does do is that will now come with those living seasons, and they've been slowly adding those kind of patch contents back in. So to kind of regroup here, we've got lots of profession balances. World v World is finally, that's something they said this expansion they want to really bring back to its kind of heyday. And then we are looking at new weapon skins, new charity event, new seasonal events, and the next chapter of Living Season 1 is coming in.
Oh, yeah.
So hopefully that kind of sums that up. So how do you feel, Brian? How does that make you feel as like a casual? You play Guild Wars the way I play New World. Like,
yeah.
I like it. When there's a big event, I hop in, and then I wonder why I can't make more time for this game.
Yeah, I know why I can't, and what I need to now kind of figure out, because being that it's added to Steam, but it's not crossplay. That's where I was like, oh, I got the expansion. I was like, I'll wait and pick it up because it's coming to Steam, and then when Steam was not account linked, so I was like, I'm not going to start over, and I was like, gosh darn it, like. At the end of the day, that was a big disappointment, but I'm still wanting to sit down and play more Guild Wars 2. You're right. Every time you sit down and play this game, I'm always like, man, why do I not make more time for Guild Wars? Like, it is a good experience. It's a fun game. It's an enjoyable world. It's beautiful. I love the open world. Like, there's so many mechanics and systems that whenever I'm playing another MMO, I'm like, man, it'd be great if they did what Guild Wars does, right? Like, and that's always kind of leads me back to the problem of Guild Wars. Like, it comes down, I think, to marketing. You never really hear much about the game. They're starting to kind of step that up with Twitch drops and things like that. All of these things are good things for them to do. So I'm happy to see them starting to step into this world and after 10 years. But I'm excited to see what they're working on with the next expansion. I'm excited to see whatever new MMO they're building as well. Like, we speculate, is that a Guild Wars 3 or is that something where it's going to be a whole new IP? I honestly don't know. Like, we'll have to wait and see.
Are they doing the Dune MMO?
No,
there's a Dune MMO.
There is a Dune MMO, but I don't think it's done by them. But Dune MMOs, I think, going to still be a while away. We also got, like, there's a lot of MMOs that are. It's actually really exciting to see more MMOs starting to kind of percolate and kind of, like, you know, get some excitement and hype. We just covered the Ashes of Creation event. Throne of Liberty set to come out probably early next year, maybe. We'll wait.
They come in waves.
They come in waves, yeah, for sure.
Some don't make it. Some have a lot of promise, and they really come flying in like they're in a big armored suit that can fly, and then it turns out they can't.
Yeah.
So
this is exciting. I mean, like, a roadmap, I think is kind of helps to kind of, like, plan out, like, hey, I want to be back for this, or I want to experience that. And I've got several level capped characters in Guild Wars, but it's like one of the things that there's just a lot of that I could sit down and play and do. And it always comes down to, I need to find something comfortable on the controller. Otherwise, as soon as I get kind of that dexterity fatigue of sitting at the desk, I lose interest, like, pretty quickly. And it's like, okay.
Cat says the Dune is from Funcom.
Yeah. Thank you very much, chat. I was like, I know it's not them, but it's, and who knows? We haven't seen much about that MMO, and we'll have to wait and see how that kind of plays out in the long run. So I'm happy to see more MMOs coming to fruition. So, I don't really have any other thoughts, especially about it, because, like, namely, I'm excited to see, these things being brought in. I love how they handle their beta testing, and honestly, I just want to sit down and try to carve out some time, maybe this winter, to actually go play through the End of Dragons expansion, and get caught up there. I've got progress in every aspect of this game, but I've never really felt like I finished any one aspect of Guild Wars.
It's the perfect way to start Guild Wars, in my opinion. And so now just pick one and finish it and see what finishing that one thing feels like. Mm-hmm. And then based on that, you'll know, did you finish the right one, or should you go finish something else? I'm working on probably the biggest mount grind in the game. And it's a really special mount that kind of combines some of their mounts work really uniquely. So I'm working on that.
Yeah.
That takes several days on an organized person or several months on a disorganized person. And I only get to play it a couple days every couple weeks for the purpose of that, because I only work on that on stream. Mm-hmm. And I'm doing each step without a guide. And so doing it without a guide makes steps that should take 40 minutes take 6 hours. So it's good.
All right. Well, guys, that's going to take that conversation. And next we decide choose your adventure. Do we talk about New World or do we want to jump into Final Fantasy XIV's Relic conversation?
Depends on how much time you have. I want to end on 14. So
let's go to Relic then, because that will be a good way to finish off the show, and then we can save New World for Friday if we decide to do a live show in the morning, because we do have that.
That would make Friday could be a long day.
Friday
I'm planning on going live
day.
at 7:30. I'll hand off to Brian, ideally at 4 if I can make it that long. He'll do his New World community night on the Twitch, and then he'll hand back off to me when it's time for him to go get some dinner and stretch his legs. And then we will be together again for the live letter at 11 on Twitch. And then because we're both live, since I'll already be live on Twitch, he'll go ahead and put his perspective on YouTube. His is the more polished stream setup, if you're wondering. And then we'll hang out together for that, and then we'll film the summary, which will, of course, kind of our thoughts and stuff will go live here on Work to Games YouTube.